Welcome to Job Searching During a Pandemic, presented by CareerSource Southwest Florida. When a pandemic strikes, which is a situation we now find ourselves in, considering this new coronavirus or COVID-19, it's possible that employers will have to turn to layoffs and furloughs, that is, if they haven't already. When it comes to social distancing and banning gatherings of large groups, none of it is great for companies, especially ones that require in-person interactions and office environments. And it's also not an ideal time for some companies to be doing any hiring, unless you're looking for a job in the food delivery industry, of course, or at a pharmacy or grocery store. So with all that said, if you were actively job searching, or maybe you are now, should you continue to send out resumes? Should you start now? Or is it smarter to suspend the activity? Certainly, economists tend to predict a recession when a serious pandemic takes over, but career experts usually are of the opinion that it makes sense to continue to network and apply. You do need to change the way you approach the application process, however, in acknowledgement of the uncertainties of the times. Now is the time to shift your mindset. If you allow fear to make you feel like there aren't any opportunities out there for you, then you will not find any opportunities. If you focus on all the reasons getting a new job is no longer possible for you, getting a new job will not be possible for you. You have to shift your mindset. Even if it feels weird or too optimistic during this time, thinking positively and tapping into an abundance mindset will keep you focused on finding the right opportunities rather than settling or not finding anything at all because you've convinced yourself that it's impossible to land a new job right now. Some employers are still hiring, and the only sure way to not get a job is to stop applying. If you stop applying, there is zero chance of you getting a job. The global economy has been shaken by the COVID-19 outbreak, leading to an increase in people applying for unemployment. As companies from a wide range of industries experience a decline in hiring, people looking for a job are coping with uncertainty, assessing options, and fine-tuning their career search strategies in the face of a tough job market. Here's a spoiler alert, it's always been that way. Companies always only hire to solve, alleviate, and tackle problems or challenges. But now more than ever, it's important that you know that. Most job seekers assume getting a new job is all about them. But the truth is that the decision to hire for a role is never about the candidate's needs as much as it's about the company's needs. Thinking it's all about you is the biggest mistake you can make when looking for a new job, especially right now in a slow job market when the competition is intense. Yes, your career is about you, but the hiring process isn't. You must shift your focus if you want to increase your chances of landing a new role you'll enjoy during the coronavirus pandemic. News about the job market has not been positive over the past few weeks thanks to the pandemic, but that doesn't mean jobs are not available. In fact, a number of employers, such as major retailers and pharmacy chains, are hiring hundreds of thousands of workers to address the demand created by the global crisis. It would make sense for companies not to hire much during the initial stage of the current pandemic, as they struggle to determine the best way to conduct business virtually and to find out if demand for their product or service continues to be reliable. But it's safe to assume many businesses will begin hiring again at some point once the uncertainties start to clear up. And when you keep up your relationship building efforts, you're likely to be in a better position to be hired when hiring restarts. If you don't have a job right now, your aim shouldn't be to hold out for the perfect job, which is likely to be difficult. Instead, it would make sense to accept anything reasonably promising and to think of it as a stopgap job until the economy improves and you have better chances. Contrary to what everyone else might be saying, this is not the time to send your resume to every job opening you see online. This is not about how many applications you're sending out. It's about making sure the applications you are sending out Communicate the best version of you. You need to prioritize quality over quantity. Because even when job openings are popping up left and right, only a handful of jobs are truly great fits. In a slow job market, there are even fewer opportunities that align with your experience, values, and career goals. So instead of wasting your time applying to as many jobs as you can in one day, consider spending more time crafting quality applications so that you stand out for the right jobs you do want. Remember, there will be an end to this, but if you take yourself out of the process, someone else is going to get the job that you want. Use the time to reflect. Job seekers often jump at the first available opportunity or go into their search without fully considering what they want to do next. Take advantage of the slow job market by getting clarity about where you want to work and the type of role and title you're seeking. Creating a one-page document that lists your target industry, companies, job titles, and anything in particular you're looking for. It goes without saying that you should apply to every posting you see that hits some or all of your criteria, but beyond job openings, you can also focus on which companies you want to work for and who you can reach out to at those companies. The company might not even have an open role yet, but you can use your network to help you start making connections now. Be prepared to think about your role more broadly and possibly pivot to an adjacent position that would also make use of your experience and skills. For instance, you might have been targeting a marketing role, but with fewer people spending money, the company might be more inclined to hire someone for a communications role during this crisis. Play the long game. There's a lot of shifting going on right now. Now is the perfect time to work on bolstering your qualifications. Analyze job descriptions by listing each required skill and experience. Then consider whether you have that exact skill. If you have the skill but haven't used it in a few years, or if you're lacking the skill entirely, use that information to determine what you need to brush up on to make yourself an even better candidate when the job market picks up again. It's important for job seekers to create a sense of normalcy during these times. Make sure you have a routine, for example. That can include a few hours of job seeking each day, exercise, meditation, reading, and a lot more. Have control over what you can control over in your life. During an economic slowdown, it's important to focus on what you can control. Improving your skills and reaching out to your network. You can lay the groundwork now so that when the crisis is over, you have opened doors and rekindled relationships. It's important not to obsess over news about the pandemic, since it mostly leads to anxiety and the feeling of being unsettled and overwhelmed. If things get to be too much, you could reach out to a friend or therapist to talk about what you're feeling. Give yourself a time limit of how much news you watch each day. It is so easy to get caught up in the chaos of the coverage of the pandemic. Try not to make it your priority of the day. Go about your day with other activities. Show that you can solve problems. Jobs open because a company needs to solve a problem. Maybe an employee recently left and they need to fill the position as quickly as possible. Maybe they're having trouble with a new product and need a fresh strategy. Maybe a specific team is overworked and they need more hands to get things done more efficiently. The list goes on, but whatever the problem is, if you want to stand out in a slow job market, it's important to show employers that you can alleviate their frustrations and tackle their challenges. Be the problem solver companies are looking for by consistently conveying at every step of the hiring process that you have the experience and expertise necessary to be successful in the role. But don't just tell them, show them using clear and specific examples. And don't forget to activate your network. Set aside time to activate your professional network. The task may seem monumental since a significant portion of the global population is stuck at home, but you shouldn't let that keep you from networking. Do your networking online. To keep pandemics from spreading, Organizations tend to cancel all events for a while, including networking events. For this reason, you will likely need a new networking strategy. It can help to reach out to other professionals in your field on LinkedIn or another forum and ask about joining virtual events. Professional groups on Facebook and LinkedIn, to name two, can be good places to start. Networking is important for several reasons. The first, of course, is that it's an important way to find out about job openings. A great many jobs are never posted publicly. If you're strictly relying on publicly posted ads, you'd be missing out on a high percentage of opportunities. Another reason is that members of your network can act as internal advocates at potential employers. Reach out to close connections to let them know about your circumstances. Then you can work on rekindling old relationships with past colleagues and friends. You can also create opportunities for yourself and others to network by hosting online meetups to discuss your industry or interest, for example. Additionally, you can look online for people hosting their own virtual meetups. Another idea involves increasing your digital presence by writing about your industry. Employers may be hesitant to hire candidates that are risky. A great way to do that is to start writing about your industry or create a podcast. Just because we're all practicing social distancing doesn't mean you can't reach out and network with people in your industry. But of course, networking will look a little different. Instead of meeting up for coffee, you may have to have a virtual chat or a conversation over the phone, but it can still be done. If networking during this time feels strange or insensitive, consider how many people you know are bored at home, or with all the free time you have, think about how happy and productive you would feel if someone reached out to you with a thoughtful note wanting to jump on the phone for a quick chat. Start a job seekers group where you can all chat about your experiences and support each other. During this downtime with everyone at home killing time, it's a perfect chance to make new, authentic connections and to revive old ones. Doing so will put you in a more favorable position to find out about new roles quicker. Expand your network. Pursue calls with people outside of your immediate network, the people closest to you. If they have not led you to a job lead yet, well, they will not be a viable help. Sorry, it's true. They will support you, yes. But if they haven't led you to a job at this point, it's probably unlikely that they're going to find you a job lead. Pursue new leaders and companies that you can create a compelling story and leverage your knowledge. Look for those professional groups to join on Facebook and LinkedIn. Both platforms offer a wide range of options with groups for every profession. For instance, if you're looking for a job in marketing, you could join LinkedIn's Global Marketing and Communications Professionals group. Join in the conversation, post and comment, and make yourself visible. Just be sure to keep the conversation professional by posting relevant articles and chiming in on topics that allow you to demonstrate your expertise. It can also help to gain practice doing networking chats and virtual informational interviews with friends for as long as it takes you to handle these processes well. Your friends could ask you questions and give you feedback on what they think of your replies. Remember, networking doesn't require meeting in person. In the era of LinkedIn, Facebook, Zoom, and other social networks, you don't need to be able to shake someone's hand to make a good impression. Now is a particularly good time to practice one of the most important tenets of networking. If you want people to help you later, be willing to help them right now. Write LinkedIn recommendations for former colleagues. Offer to proofread your friend's resume and cover letter. It will give you a sense of satisfaction and it will help strengthen your network for the future. Thanks to modern technology, networking while under quarantine has never been easier. Between resources such as LinkedIn and 10 Times and video conferencing tools like Zoom, FaceTime, and Google Meet, you can still reconnect with your existing contacts, meet new people in your chosen field or industry via virtual events, and conduct informational interviews over the phone or through video calls. Start by looking at your first and second connections on LinkedIn and prioritizing those who currently work or previously worked in the field, industry, or for a company that interests you. Send an email or in-mail message, text, or call the person to touch base. We may be forced to shelter in place, but that shouldn't stop us from planning virtual coffee dates and other video conference meetings from the comfort of our homes. If you're looking to make new connections, sites like 10 Times and Eventbrite offer online networking events and job fairs you can attend and engage with others. Make it really easy for your network to help you by having clarity about what you're looking for. Give them specific evidence of the type of examples of work and information that they can use to think of opportunities for you. Use whatever platform you've used previously. A carefully crafted direct message on Twitter can be just as effective as an email to a personal address, but be careful to keep the level of outreach appropriate to your level of familiarity. A text message on a weekend to a personal mobile of someone who is a passing acquaintance, or an overly forward email with attachments to someone you haven't spoken to in years might not yield the desired result you're looking for. Remember, keep it professional and direct so that even friends can forward your request to their acquaintances. And here's a networking tip. Networking should be driven by what the company needs and how it matches up with your superpower. It's also an opportunity to demonstrate what type of employee you would be. And find other ways to stay top of mind in addition to email. For instance, connect with the hiring manager on LinkedIn, and if they post a status, comment on it. If the hiring manager posts a company report or press release, make a comment that illustrates you read it and have valuable insight to contribute. Pretend you're giving them a preview of what you'd add to the team if you worked there. And stop playing the numbers game. Contrary to what everyone else might be saying, this is not the time to spend and send your resume to every job opening you see online. It's not about how many applications you're sending out. This is about making sure the applications you are sending out communicate the best version of you. You need to prioritize quality over quantity. Because even when job openings are popping up left and right, only a handful of jobs are truly great fits. In a slow job market, there are even fewer opportunities that align with your experience, values, and career goals. So instead of wasting your time applying to as many jobs as you can in one day, consider spending more time crafting quality applications so that you stand out for the right jobs you do want. You can stand out through your networking, but it's also important to make an impression through your resume and profile. Especially now, it's also important to show that you can overcome challenges. You can do that within your resume by answering 3 questions. What are some challenges you faced during your time in the position? Number 2, how did you address the obstacles you ran into throughout your work experience? And number 3, what was the outcome? Did you overcome? Was it a success? Can you add the result to your list of achievements? You'll want to grab a recruiter's or hiring manager's attention by possibly leading with a specific position. Showcase it by using industry-specific keywords and hard skills, which are the learnable ones you need to do or know to do the job. Use bulleted lists so there's white space and they stand out. Use callouts on your resume. These are keyword-rich sections of content with clear separations between sections to give each point its own space without becoming crammed with information. Chances are that recruiters and hiring managers will also look to see if you have a LinkedIn profile. You may want to ask people within your network to share specific and impactful recommendations. Additionally, it's important to make your profile a unique experience. Don't just copy and paste your resume. Our world is in a state of confusion, so look like you are ready to handle the task. Be sure your summary is short, direct, and consider asking questions that you can be the solution for. Focus your message and profile to attract a person that can hire you. That is the goal. Speak their language and ask them questions that you suspect they are dealing with in their role. Research and phrase your summary to their language. Customize the content for each job you apply for. Use that industry's language, address challenges that they are facing that you have solved similar problems for. Be prepared for video interviews. Just like networking will look different during this time, so will interviewing. With offices closed and employees working from home, in-person interviews will be on hold, and recruiters and hiring managers will be using other means to interview candidates. This will result in more phone interviews and video interviews, but you shouldn't let the idea of more phone or video interviews intimidate you. Remain confident and focus on showing your value. Be sure that you're prepared for video interviews. Practice interviewing via camera. If you've never interviewed via Skype or Zoom, there's a bit of a learning curve. Get acquainted with the technology and do a practice interview before you speak with the hiring manager. Pay close attention to the lighting and background, as well as how your interview outfit shows up on camera. When a prospective employer reaches out to you, they will likely request a video interview since most in-person interactions are frowned upon during the coronavirus pandemic. A video interview is not an excuse to be unprepared. You should be especially vigilant about finding areas of common interest with the interviewers, since it tends to be more difficult to form connections over video than in person. Also, you can usually keep notes in front of you. Just make sure they're out of sight of the camera. During these uncertain times, you should get a clear hiring timeline from the company as the process unfolds. You'll want to know if they plan to bring someone on, even if the company is operating remotely during the pandemic. Employers are still interviewing candidates, though their processes have changed to accommodate the stay-at-home orders. You can expect the entire interview process to take place over the phone and via video conference. When it comes to video interviews, be mindful of controlling your environment and treating the virtual meeting as though it were an in-person interview. How do you control your environment? In addition to properly preparing for your job interview, you have the added challenge of preparing the right space within your home for this important meeting. Find a spot in your home that's quiet, clutter-free, and well lit. Download any necessary software or updates ahead of time and test the equipment with a friend to ensure your lighting, audio volume, and the positioning of your camera is just right. Treat the video interview as a face-to-face. The same rules apply for a video interview as they would during an in-person interview. You still need to dress as though you were interviewing at the company's office, including your bottom half. With the company culture in mind, you still need to connect with your interviewers, even if they're not sitting in the room with you. Be cognizant of your tone over the phone, mannerisms, and eye contact through the monitor. It's important to stay in contact. It could help to get in touch with the hiring manager over email. Let that person know that you understand it's difficult for the company to adjust to new realities in the midst of a pandemic, and tell them that you would be happy to learn more about how to contribute to the organization when the situation calms down. When companies are looking to hire again, employers will remember those specific candidates who were able to be positive, upbeat, and try during this dynamic and uncertain time. Perhaps you had a great interview recently, and it seemed as if there was a job offer in sight, but all of it evaporated with the current situation. You might be able to salvage it. It's important that your communication uses a thoughtful tone. It would be a better idea to ask if there was any way you could help the company rather than to ask them to help you. The idea should be to connect on a personal level. For instance, if you've led virtual teams in the past, you could bring it up and talk about how your experience could help the company during a pandemic when they need to remotely manage teams that are spread out. It could also help to stay in touch over LinkedIn. If the hiring manager has posted a status, company report, press release, or anything else, for instance, you could make an intelligent comment on it. A thoughtful, pertinent comment could show the hiring manager what they could expect from you if you were to join the company. Maybe you recently had a promising interview and a job offer seemed to be on the horizon, but now the company has moved to remote work and you haven't heard from the hiring manager. What should you do? Check in with the hiring manager by email, acknowledging that they might be scrambling to help their employees get used to the new setup. For instance, your email could say, "I'm looking forward to learning more when it makes sense for your organization." This conveys that you know this is an extraordinary circumstance and acknowledge that this isn't easy for people. Make sure you also demonstrate a thoughtful attitude. Rather than asking them to help you, ask if there is anything you can assist them with. The idea is to connect with people on a human level. Let's say you're contacting someone you've networked with in the past. Your email can simply say, "I wanted to reach out to see if there's anything I can do for you. You've been so generous with your time. I want to return the favor if I can." If you have a specific skill a hiring manager might be able to tap into, mention it. You might say, "Given that I've led virtual teams, I might have some ideas to share on how to keep your employees feeling connected when they're not in the office." Find out about the culture at different companies. The COVID-19 crisis can provide a unique glimpse into company culture. Take note of how leadership deals with this emergency and treats its employees by following the company on social media and watching for any media coverage. For instance, is the company allowing employees to work from home? Are they supporting workers in other creative ways? Did they lay off staff? It can help to set up a Google alert for the different companies that you're interested in and to pay attention to the investor calls that are reported. When you finally have a chance to interview at any one of these companies, you will be able to demonstrate that you're familiar with the challenges that the company faces. You can mention that what you read and listened to and use your specific knowledge to drive home how you could help the company achieve its goals if hired. There are some common job search errors in a slow market, though. Companies are still hiring, but right now, if a company has decided to hire for a specific position, it's because they've determined that particular role is essential to the growth or survival of the company. And as we said earlier, it's always been that way. Companies always only hire to solve, alleviate, and tackle problems or challenges. But now more than ever, it's important that you know this and keep it in mind when you're looking. Most job seekers assume getting a new job is all about them. The truth is that the decision to hire for a role is never about the candidate's needs as much as it is about the company's needs. Thinking it's all about you is the biggest mistake you can make when looking for a new job, especially right now in this slow job market when the competition is intense. Yes, your career is about you, but the hiring process isn't. You must shift your focus if you want to increase your chances of landing a new role you'll enjoy during the coronavirus pandemic. Here are 2 ways you might be making this mistake in the hiring process now. In an application. During the pandemic, if a company has decided they still want to hire for a particular role, it's for a vital purpose. Not taking the time to analyze the company to discover that purpose likely means you're focusing too much on you and not enough on the company. You may have great experience and you feel good about taking the next step in your career, especially after editing your resume 17 times. You take a second to skim the job description for some keywords and drop them in your resume, hoping that will boost your chances of getting through the ATS system. You think to yourself, "Here's all my experience. I hope they see how amazing I am and give me an interview." You send off your application, assuming that all you need is a chance to talk to someone, and you'll be all set from there. But not so fast. When applying for roles, assuming that every position is the same because they all have similar titles, is thoughtless. Every company is different, and every company has a different reason to hire. Understand? Make sure that when you apply, that it is for a specific reason and much thought is given into the positions that you're applying for. Especially now during the pandemic, If a company has decided they still want to hire for a particular role, as we said, it's for a vital position. If you do not take the time to analyze the company and discover what that purpose is, as we stated at the beginning of this, then it could mean you're focusing too much on you and not enough on the company. The second mistake occurs in an interview. After scrambling to research the company and prepare for the interview, or worse, thinking you're so good at interviews you don't need to prepare at all, you jump on the video interview ready to talk about your experience. You wait for the interviewer to ask you questions. If they don't ask, you assume they don't want to know. You wait for interviewers to spot your weakness before you address it, instead of being proactive and showing why your experience is valuable to them. You share examples of your accomplishments that put you in the best light without thinking about why your accomplishments are beneficial to the role. Because of this, you leave the interview feeling like it went well, but ultimately end up receiving an email that they decided to go with someone else. Here's why. Hiring managers hire people they like and trust. While interviewing, it's your job to build their trust. When it comes to talking about yourself and convincing hiring managers that you're the one, your focus should be showing them you can alleviate their problems, tackle their challenges, and add value to their company. When you emphasize you and your needs over them and their needs, you fail to show them why they specifically need you for the role. This leaves you being remembered as a good candidate, but not good enough to hire. There is a way to fix this. You need to know how to better communicate your story and value. You must be willing to master the skill of understanding what companies really want, and you need to know how to align with their needs in applications and interviews so that they constantly see you're the one they need for the job. In a competitive market, when hiring might be slow, you need to know how to seize every chance you get to impress hiring managers so that you can land a new role as quickly as possible. This means that instead of doing your usual apply to everything and wing everything out strategy, you need to know how to better communicate your story and value. You must be willing to master the skill of understanding what companies really want. Then you need to know how to align with their needs in applications and interviews so that they constantly see that you're the one they need. Companies don't hire you because you need a job. They hire you because you provide a solution to their problems. You want to land a new role during the coronavirus pandemic, you must be sure to avoid the mistake of focusing too much on you in the hiring process. Things have changed, so you must be willing to change too. Final thoughts. The most obvious one is prepare for your search to be longer. Don't take rejections or no return calls personally. It's a pandemic, and people, including employers, are confused about their next steps. Acknowledge the hiring manager's challenges in leading their teams, and then share how you have also led or worked in challenging times. Keep in mind that we should accept, acknowledge, and offer help. There are many things that you can implement to influence your odds and impact in securing job interviews and getting the attention of hiring managers who are distracted and in crisis management mode. It will be a bigger challenge to secure interviews, let's be very clear, but you have the power and time to make the changes that will help increase your job search effectiveness. With so much unknown because of the coronavirus pandemic, hiring processes may be a little slower as employers navigate the best way to interview during this time. Be patient, but also don't be afraid to follow up. And please don't be that person who waits days to respond when you do hear back because you don't want to look too available. Show employers that you're ready and excited to move forward. If you're willing to be adaptable and persistent, you'll demonstrate to your future employer that you're serious about the role and can handle changes in an uncertain climate. Although we don't know much about how things will pan out over the next few months, you can choose hope over fear. Companies are still hiring, and if you use the gift of time we've all been given and follow these steps, you'll be much more equipped to come out of this with so much more clarity, confidence, and direction in your career. Good luck in finding your new job.